Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Planet Film Network. I am one of your hosts, Sean Monk.
I'm your other host, TJ Cornwell.
And today, as you can tell by everything surrounding us and the color palette of today, also the title and thumbnail of the video you clicked on, we are talking about Supergirl, previously Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, but now just titled Supergirl. This one is based on, as we said, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, which was written by Tom King with art by Elquest Beverly. This movie, however, is directed by Craig Gillespie. Things like I, Tonya, things like Cruella, a definitely reputable director coming in here. And then Anna Naguara, who we know is writing potentially the treatment for whatever Wonder Woman project is in the works at DC right now. Also, her name is kind of tossed in the ring for a potential Teen Titans project in the work at DC right now. So we got a lot of different things, a lot of different cooks in the kitchen, and obviously executive produced by Peter Safran and James Gunn, who obviously, has a big, you can feel their stamp of their DC vibe on this. Whether that's good or bad, we will get to in a second. TJ, first off, what did you think of this movie? By the way, we literally just saw it together in IMAX, came home, and we are recording this. So we are fresh off the presses for this movie. Saw it in IMAX. What did you think?
I thought it was fine. I thought there's a lot of different characters in here. Some severely underwritten, specifically to like Lobo and the villain.
Yeah.
Where I'm just kind of, you're just kind of there. You're just kind of going along the story. And obviously, like I said, to you leaving, the dog thing is going to get me every time. So, seeing Crypto in peril kind of had me buy in a little bit, even though I know in the end of my head, I'm like, they're not going to kill the dog. The dog's going to be fine at the end of the day. But overall, I thought it was just fine. I thought there were some good action sequences. I thought Millie Alcock was great. I really liked her and what she was doing. I thought, they didn't give her a ton to work with, in particularly like story-wise and just like things she's going through in particular.
Yeah.
And then I like some of the backstory as well. I was really appreciative of like stuff that they showed on Krypton and with her parents, and just giving us a little bit more. Me not knowing, like, I'm not the biggest Superman guy, so getting a little bit more backstory on, what happened and how the planet was destroyed and all that stuff was really, really helpful for me, and I really enjoyed all that stuff. And then David Cornsweet, I thought he was just really good in, his five minutes he had on screen.
Yeah.
He's just really good at playing Superman. And, it brought me back to why I really liked Superman, the movie, when it came out. Was this last year? Last year. And yeah, but overall, I thought it was fine. I'd be interested to see what they do going forward. Maybe she shows up in Man of Tomorrow. I don't know if that has been announced or anything like that. But overall, I thought it was fine. It could have been better, but I wasn't like some of the reviews. It was like, is this going to be like offensively bad? And I just think it lacks a lot in key moments. But like I said, overall, I saw it. It was fine. Moving
on. She is real quick. She is listed in the official, meaning not parentheses rumored.
Yeah.
She is officially listed on the cast, both on IMDb and on the movie database. So it look for Man of Tomorrow. So it looks like she is going to be back in Man of Tomorrow. So not that long of a wait. Which again, also Superman, we talked to a little bit about last year. It was 50 weeks ago, so less than a year. So it was July, was it July 11th, I think. For me, I think that this movie, I thought it was fun. I thought it had some, definitely some standout, like great moments, I think. But I think overall, honestly, as a flip to this, I think I might have been a little less on it than you were. I just wish I feel like we're thinking this with a lot of movies this summer. Like, it's obviously great. You know, we've been away for a few weeks here, but obviously there has been a lot of box office and summer movie season news with Backrooms, Obsession, a whole bunch of stuff going on. But then something else that we've been seeing with Mandalorian and Grogu, and then I think with this movie too, is that it's like, I just wish that there was more there to like dive into. And I think that, like, for me, I liked like everything that you said too. I think that Millie Alcock was fantastic. I thought that this was like a great showing for her as Supergirl. I as well just wish that there was like a stronger character on the page for her, other than just like, you know, trauma and then like being, you know, weakened or
Yeah.
out of commission for some reason and like needing to find her strength. I feel like they do that a lot in this movie, that like I wish that she just had more to do. But that being said, I really liked Eve Ridley as Ruthie. I thought was good. And then we also get Matthias Schoenaerts as Krem of the Yellow Hills, who I think is really like kind of the biggest issue with this movie, is that it's like when he is there, it's like Malekith, right? So Malekith is one of the, like, Christopher Eccleston's character in Thor.
Oh yeah.
People are like, you know, people always point to Malekith as like the worst way to do a villain. It's like, at least when Malekith is physically on screen, like in the frame, you feel his like menace. This was like the small amount of screen time that Krem actually gets when he's even on screen. I feel like apart from the first scene that we see of him with Ruthie's family, I feel like other than that, he just does not feel menacing or intimidating.
Mm-hmm.
I also just think that there was like a weird vibe that this movie was striking with like what it was trying to say about like killing versus not killing, you know, like the
So
yeah, go ahead.
yeah, sorry. I do want to maybe we dive into it in like in 5 minutes and you just finish your thoughts. But I did have a question about that and
Yeah.
kind of what they're trying to tell us that Supergirl is trying to teach Ruthie.
Yeah.
Where in my head I'm like, I don't know how Supergirl would be able to communicate that, because I don't think she's been through that, specifically in this movie, because we don't see anything related to what Ruthie is trying to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where it's like she's telling her, you know, and I'll just say it real quick, like Krem killed Ruthie's parents and her brother, and she wants revenge for that. And multiple times throughout the movie, Supergirl is like, you know, it might feel good once you do it, but immediately you're going to have to live with that the rest of your life, all this stuff. But Supergirl's never been through that.
Yeah.
She's never, and from the us going back in time as well in the movie, like there's no moment where like, you know, Zod comes down and destroys Krypton and Supergirl's like, I need revenge and all this stuff. So in my head, I'm like, there's like two different things where they're going through, like where they're both going through this grief, obviously, but Supergirl seems to be making this point about revenge where it's like, that just was never established. I was like, in my head, I'm like, did something happen in Superman or anything like that? But we see her for like 5 seconds and that's it.
Yeah.
So they're just kind of like going and like, hey, like she could teach her about this too. It's like, yeah, but we don't have any experience with her dealing with that kind of thing. So it's just kind of, it doesn't really make much sense for me personally in the movie, but sorry.
No, yeah, I definitely think, I definitely agree with that. That was a point that, again, we just saw this. So that was a point that I like didn't even think about. That was just like, I was more just saying the confused message, which I think is just a double issue that we're having with which are combining it, which is like, and again, it's not an issue. Characters don't have to inherently go through the same thing that they're trying to teach another character. But it is a little bit weird that like we are just meeting this character for the very first time. And I feel like the universe is like, or maybe even not the universe, maybe just this movie is like, and I'm talking about totally separate, like whether you know the character of Supergirl or not. I just mean like this movie is like we pick up, and I just feel like we're supposed to know this particular characterization of her already. And I don't really get why that was the choice made for this movie, because it is just so new, and you're establishing stuff, and you have this brand new actor who is great in the role as Supergirl. But again, we both have already said, like, I just wish that she was given a bigger, maybe not even a bigger canvas, because this is a huge canvas. I just wish that she was given better paint, like to paint with, to like build, to like make this character in our minds and like in our hearts, like the way that we did with, like, to me, it's like, yeah, right now, I just wish that there was more to this character, to be like, I am excited to see the actor again. But I don't know if I'm more or less excited to see Supergirl again. You know what I mean? Like, and I feel like coming out of, things, and you can only kind of look at the beginning of Marvel, or even the beginning of the DCEU, coming out of BVS, it was almost the opposite, where it's like, okay, Gal Gadot's fine, but like, I am interested to see this Wonder Woman movie. Where it's like, I am very interested to see this. Or even Ben Affleck, coming out of BVS, is like, okay, he's in a supporting role here, but like, what's this guy going to give me in his own movie? And I kind of feel that way coming out of this movie, but then I'm like, I have to remind myself that I just watched Supergirl's movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, I feel like this movie simultaneously, well, I think, sorry, I'm staring off in the distance because I'm trying to get these thoughts together as I'm having them. But it's like, I think that this movie simultaneously like is doing a disservice, because I wish that there was more there to explore about the character. And I think it's the same issue I'm having about feeling like we did not get like the part one of this story. You know what I mean? Like, I was really, and I agree, I really liked all the stuff on Krypton, all the stuff on Argo City. People in the when the trailers were coming out were like, it's Brainiac saving the city. And people were like, first look at Brainiac's, pod lasers, saving Argo City or whatever. And I liked that it was completely different from that. It was not to do with Brainiac at all. Which I thought was great. I thought that David Krumholtz was really good. I think that when we heard that casting like a year ago, I think everybody was pretty excited about that. They were like, okay, yeah, he feels like right for this kind of a thing. And I thought that he was, but again, we're talking about 2.5 minutes of screen time in the movie. I also do wonder if it was, because I really thought that it was going to be like a, not necessarily a Rashomon style, but like, I thought we were going to be getting those flashbacks slowly throughout the movie. So the fact that they kind of choose to just do it all in one big dump, where you just kind of get like these like 8 minutes, when Ruthie and Supergirl are in the bedroom together waiting for that family, which that was an interesting part of the movie too, was that family and stuff. But I would have liked if they were a little more spread out, I think, throughout the movie, just because it's information that I feel like would have benefited some of the earlier, frankly, kind of slower parts of the movie. But again, I'm the chief of, engage with the story presented. Like, I'm not going to sit here being like, I wish they did this. I wish they did this. But to me, that just felt, I was like, there was so much interesting stuff, but I felt like getting it all in one big chunk like that, it was like, you were kind of forgetting stuff about it. And you're like, okay, how is this, like, how am I supposed to feel with this? And then what I really loved was when it ended with her in Metropolis, and she's got this, like, felt like the end of No Way Home, where it's like, okay, Supergirl is clearly, Clark has gotten her like a 1-bedroom apartment, in the city. He's like, welcome to Earth. This is where you are. She's got her Peter Quill Walkman, which had absolutely no explanation other than to make it feel like Peter Quill, I guess, which is, I was really hoping it wasn't going to be that, because everybody said that after the first trailer. But it was just an iPod that she got from Earth. But like I keep saying, give me more. Like, I would have loved a movie set during that time of Kara's life, when she is acclimating to Earth. You know what I mean? And I worry that like doing it's kind of the same thing that people say all the time about the Flash. It's like Warner Brothers instinct seems to just be like, let's adapt Flashpoint. Let's adapt Flashpoint.
Yeah.
And it's like, I almost worry if they did themselves a disservice to the character by starting with Woman of Tomorrow. You know what I mean? Just because it's like, I do think that there's like, and maybe you could do a Black Widow thing where Supergirl 2 is, or I guess maybe the closest thing would be Temple of Doom. Maybe you do a Temple of Doom thing where the sequel is actually set before. And you can have it be more of like that origin. But I just felt like there was, and I'm somebody who knows Supergirl. You know, I've read Supergirl comics. I haven't read Woman of Tomorrow all the way through. But I've read Supergirl comics, like particularly like, you know, in the 2010s and stuff. And in obviously I was a big fan of CW show and stuff. Not to say that I'm a Supergirl mega fan, but I'm definitely more aware of the character than a lot of people going to see this movie. Although I guess box office time will tell with that. But I do think that, like, for me, as somebody who knows what this character can explore, I felt like a lot of that was missing. While also giving us cool new stuff, you know, definitely the edgier take on the character for sure, like the jokes, the humor, you know, everything that we've kind of come to expect out of like a lot of superhero characters. Like she definitely fits the bill of, I don't think that like Supergirl is like breaking the mold in terms of what it means to be a superhero. But also I feel like because this movie doesn't really explore what it means for this character to be a superhero, I'm left wondering, what is it exploring?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe I'm being too harsh. I don't know. Maybe I am being too harsh, but I'm just like, she puts on the suit at the last like 10 minutes, seemingly just for an outfit change. And I get that there's the swelling music and it's like, okay, she's ready to embrace this. She's ready to do it. But it didn't feel like any meaningfulness. And then also they like Professor X her, where she's just like in a cave laying down for 20 minutes.
I could see it where I could see like what you're talking about. And maybe it would work better this way. If she is somewhat resistant to, and she kind of is, like somewhat resistant to saving the day throughout the movie or something like that. But like she does that multiple times throughout the movie. And to your point, like at the end when she puts on the suit and all this stuff, and she's had it the whole time pretty much. Like they've kind of just been carrying it around with them the entire time. So when she finally puts it on, it's kind of like this big grand thing, like you said, but it's really just like, well, you just kind of put the suit on, like you can kick ass anyway. You know, you don't really have to have the suit on. And obviously we know what it stands for and all this stuff. And they go through that in the movie as well.
Yeah.
Where it just kind of leads up. It's like, oh, okay, that's it. You know, stuff like that. And I do agree where that is something that could have been done better. I want to talk about real quick, just like the three kind of side characters that we get. So we got Ruthie, we got Krem, who's the villain, and then we got Lobo. We'll talk about. I just want to talk about Ruthie first because she has a little bit more. I feel like that to talk about other than the two others. I guess what could they have improved about her character? I feel like she's obviously, like I was saying earlier, she's looking for vengeance. And she's tagging along with Supergirl, even though Supergirl most of the time doesn't want her to be there. It specifically tells her to stay where she is. But she never really, she has like one moment where she's like useful per se. And that's about it. And it's kind of due to the fact that one, she's like a young kid, but she just needed more to do, in my opinion. She has that, obviously, like I said, the scene on the ship with she's breaking out of the cell. But other than that, she's just kind of carrying the sword around. And that's about it.
Yeah. And again, I think that's too, it's just something that it's like, they're choosing. I have not read Woman of Tomorrow till the end, you know, but it's like choosing to go with the story. You're like locking yourself into who these characters are and stuff. And I know that story is very lone wolf and cub. And I think that Ruthie, you know, very much is playing the role of like the cub in this story without really much there, where it's like, okay, I understand what happened to you, and I understand what you want him to die. But also it's like, there's no scene where Ruthie, you know, talks about a memory that she had of her family. And she's like, you know, we were so happy. And you see some flashes of her and her brother on like horseback riding and stuff. But like, I guess I'll just say like that stuff is not enough to give us a character. You know, it's like you need to give, you know, the actor something to play, you know, and I feel like she was a very good actor too. But it's just like when she was on screen, it almost felt empty, you know, because it's like all she is reduced to is the revenge that she wants to seek.
Yeah.
And it's like maybe she could have had like a big dialogue scene with that family that took them in, you know, that ended up having to betray them. But they're just looking out for their own safety, which again is like stuff that we've seen in countless things before. I think it just, you know, it just isn't written that well in this movie.
Yeah. Do we know why? Like, so Krem goes to her family home because he wants her dad makes swords and he's the best swordsman maker,
like
I think, in
the universe. Like I don't know, like I guess.
And so basically they're like, whatever he asks for, just give it to him. And then she's kind of standing there in the hallway, and her brother like jumps out to try and scare her, and Krem shoots him, and then he kills her parents.
Yeah.
But it's all kind of confusing, and maybe this will bump us to Krem a little bit, where it's like I don't really know what the goal is really. Like they steal little young girls, right?
Yeah.
But they might have said why, and I might have just missed it.
It's because they're a male only species, so I think the implication is like they take these women, like abuse them to get male offspring.
Right.
But then again,
which is pretty
that they
dark.
kill female offspring?
Yeah, which is pretty dark.
I don't know. Yeah, but it's not explored.
It's not. Yeah, they don't really talk about it at all. It's like you see a bunch of women in cages and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and that's kind of about it.
And people say that like, oh, this movie's way more Mad Max than Guardians of the Galaxy. I feel like it's just wearing both of those movies' skin. Like, like literally with the brides, when they're like, we have to save the brides, and then it's all these women in like these white like nightgowns. It's like it like visually just looks exactly like Mad Max.
Right.
And it's like they just feel like Ravagers, Reavers, you know, War Boys. Like it all like, and I understand that like this has been, it's not Supergirl's fault. These like space pirate techno, you know, gasoline guy, like this has been like a motif for the last 15 years of movies, you know, but it's like when you're coming this late to the party, you got to do something more interesting than just like what they have spikes instead of wear red, so that's what separates them from the Ravagers.
Yeah, they should have just had him talk normally, by the way. I don't know why they had to give him like a neck thing to like press the button. Like just
I don't know. Like, okay, one thing I will say, and then we will talk about we can end with Lobo because we definitely want to talk about him. But one thing I will say that's positive, alien and creature design, like rivaling like the original trilogy, like rivaling Star Wars. Like I was sitting there in genuine cinematic amazement on the bus scene at just how different every single one of those aliens were. And whether they were practical or CGI, the reason I'm so impressed is that I couldn't tell which was which. I couldn't tell where practical suits ended and CGI heads started. And I was really impressed by that in what I will say I think was a almost borderline bad sequence with those with that pirate gang. The like tech pirates.
Oh, on the bus.
Yeah, I was like, what are we doing?
It was just characters? It was the fighting combined with the bus driver who couldn't speak, so we had the tiny guy to speak for him, and then cutting away
like hats on hats.
Yeah, it was just it was all very kind of all over the place. But no, I agree. I thought the creatures looked really cool. For the most part, I thought the movie looked fine. There was moments where I was like, I don't think this looks very good. Like if we're just talking landscape, or maybe if we're on like the green planet, or or like her flying, or some of those instances where like she's picking up Ruthie and she's flying away, stuff like that. I'm like, that did not look quite right.
Yeah.
But I would agree with you. The creature design I thought was really good. I specifically go back to the guy that she calls Squidward, where it's like a human body, but then like the head is like, I'm like, is that prosthetics or is that like,
is that like CGI tendrils, or is it like a crazy like thing of servos in there? You know, it was almost like a practical Davy Jones from Pirates of the Caribbean or something.
Yeah, that I thought looked good. And then just jumping over to Lobo, Jason Momoa, obviously, you know, he's doing Jason Momoa. He's just having a good time.
Again, only like what, 8 minutes of screen time, maybe?
Yeah, and he's him and David Cornswear are the only ones I really laughed at. I think Millie Alcock definitely had a lot more jokes in there, but just for me, almost all of them I think fell flat for me. Whereas opposed to Jason Momoa, he's slinging around whatever he wants to say. Again, I laughed for the most of the time, and that was kind of his. Felt like that was kind of his purpose for me, was just to make me laugh. He's a bounty hunter, I believe, and he had a bounty on the one guy of Krem's gang, and he got him, and that was about
it. I just, I don't know, and I know that I hate to be the like, the reports say, but like, there genuinely were those reports that were like, oh, they've recently cut like 25 minutes out of this thing.
Yeah.
And I wonder, and again, I do think it's too long. Like, I wonder if this movie just got away from them in the script or got away from them in the edit or something. Cause it's just like a moment that I'm going to call, I'll give my thoughts on Lobo real quick before we go. I do think that Jason Momoa was, I mean, he was good. You know, I think it's what everybody's saying. It's like, he is Lobo because Lobo is him. It's like, it's the way that Tony Stark and RDJ became so it's less that, it's more like, actually, I don't know, I'm failing to, it's more like Deadpool and Ryan Reynolds. That's what it is. Because it's like, before Ryan Reynolds started playing the character, the Deadpool in the comics was already referencing Ryan Reynolds. That relationship began with Ryan Reynolds, began with Deadpool, not Ryan Reynolds. So it's like, because the other two, I was going to say Sam Jackson with Nick Fury, but I'm like, no, those became linked because of the actor's portrayal. Whereas like Lobo has been linked with Jason Momoa, even though he's never played him. So it's like, it really did feel like, oh, that would probably logically work. And I think it did work. The only problem is, again, it's in this movie with this writing. It's like, it just felt like just weird sequences where it's like, they get to that planet and she like hits the button on her little safety suit. And she's like, oh, you couldn't have done that for me earlier. Or like Lobo hits the button and then like the safety suit undoes it. And I'm like, did they ever set up that, like, why can't Ruthie just turn it off? And it's like my head, my head canon like immediately can fill it in and be like, oh, if it's like a child protective suit, maybe there's like a child lock on it. But it's like, no one ever said that, which led me in the theater to be like, was there like a whole series of jokes here that got cut that had like context that now make this thing not make sense? Because it was like, it was a weird recurring thing. And then like Lobo is just like, oh, that's Lobo in the corner there. Don't mess with Lobo. And then he's like, I'm Lobo. And I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, that makes it sound like they've had a history where.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah. And then that, after her being like, oh crap, that's Lobo in the corner, like, then it just kind of didn't come of it. And then she immediately is like, oh, I'm from Earth. We're both from Earth. We're like, and it's like, is Earth like known in this universe? You know what I mean? Or are they just like, oh, that weird planet that I visited the one time? You know, it's like, that's the kind of stuff that I'm like, what, like, I want to say like, oh, we'll explain it, but it's like, explain it in this movie. I'm watching the movie right now. I don't know, but yeah, I just think there was a lot of that stuff. And again, I think just like Mando, for me, it's like, it just comes down to the script. I don't know. It's like
Yeah.
it's just a disappointment in the dialogue and the structure that these characters are given. Is what I keep coming back to. But I will say I thought David Cornsweet was great.
Yeah. If I can get just some clarification on how the powers work, because this was going through my head a lot. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
first of all, I think Luther, he needs to talk to Krem about those arrows. Major upgrade, I think.
Yeah.
If you could get a hold of those little arrows that he has, those little kryptonite arrows.
Yeah.
Just a thought. Well, he's dead now, but
yeah,
at the time would have been a good idea. So
Seemed
Supergirl,
at the time.
She gets her powers from the yellow sun.
Mm-hmm.
So we got the yellow sun here on Earth, right?
Yeah.
And on Krypton, it's a different sun because they don't have the powers that they do on Earth, right? They don't have them on Krypton, right? So I was always under the impression that, and maybe this is because for me, whenever I've seen Superman, he's always been on Earth. Because I was always under the impression it was like Superman on Earth is just like he has the powers because he's on Earth, not necessarily because of the sun. So basically what I'm led to believe is it's the sun that kind of powers these Kryptonians, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I'm thinking about in the movie in like Superman, and then my head goes to like, well, what about when it's nighttime? You know, and it's the moon's out. Like, is it like the same thing, or is it? Because I'm like, if it's just on Earth, and the Earth, they just have these powers on Earth, not because of the sun. I'm like, that makes sense. You're fighting at nighttime, blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, well, if the sun goes down, like, are we?
I think it's like it's like a enrichment thing.
Okay,
they're like a battery.
Yeah. She does have some like power up moments.
Yeah, and I will say too, I think something we've never seen in a superhero thing, besides maybe a CW thing. I liked going into the red blood cells and literally seeing the decay on the cellular level of like, oh, it's literally getting consumed. You can see how it's affecting her biologically and like chemically, that it's like it's literally decaying her cells. And then when you see the yellow sun, you literally see them heal and like flake away the kryptonite and stuff. So I think it's like it's like, well, first of all too, I think it's as long as they're like in the atmosphere of a yellow sun or like in the radius of a yellow sun. But then sometimes I will say I think it is inconsistent, because it's like sometimes it's about being close to it, but then sometimes it's like, oh, you have to have a visible line of sight. You know what I mean? So it's a little whatever. And also, like, again, just like things with the movie that I'm like, this is the 750th comic book movie that we have had. And it's like, you can't write a movie. Okay, I am being too harsh on this movie, I think. But I'm sitting there in the theater and I'm like, oh, he knew to bring me here, because half the day this planet will kill me, but the other half I'm unstoppable. Why would he bring you here? Why would you bring her here? I don't understand that. Bring her to a place that, I don't know, just has a green sun. Or maybe,
which, by the way, real quick, I'm sorry, real quick, I didn't know that like kryptonite, I thought it was just like on Krypton. I thought that was the whole thing.
I don't know. As far as I know, like, I'm sure it's in the comics somewhere.
I bet it is.
But to me, like, as a movie viewer for this, like, it felt very weird. I don't know, because it's like, okay, I know that, like, also it's difficult because it's like green suns don't like exist in reality, like one that would paint the. But my point being, the only other suns that Superman normally talks about do exist in our reality. Like a red sun is real, a white sun is real. Like you know what I mean? Yeah, like a green sun is like, I don't know what that is, because I've never experienced Superman having to deal with that before. So it's like, I don't know. Maybe I don't know. It got confusing, because then I'm like, Green Lantern is the one that like literally the color yellow like is the inverse of his powers. You know what I mean?
Right.
Where it's like, this is like, it's not like Kryptonians have a natural aversion to the color green.
Right.
So I don't know. It was weird.
Where
And
he
it's
should
like,
have taken her was where that bar was, where her family was murdered. They have a red son. That's
you
it.
know where
He has no
where
powers
they
there.
should have taken her
Where?
to Argo City.
Or that. Yeah.
Show us that, to be like, oh, I
assume Argo City is like, it's just it. I was imagining it was like no more. Like it just.
Well, but
it
that's what I
just
mean.
decayed
Take us
and-
there. Set the
okay,
third
yeah.
act there. Like if it's some desiccated wasteland, like they're in a ship. They don't need to be in a planet. Like they're in a ship. Like I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
And maybe it's like, again, I don't want to. I do not that I don't think you're being too harsh, but it does start to feel like that's both of us, where it's like we're just kind of like nitpicking.
Yeah,
but it's like that stuff is just like that's important. Like if you're trying to build a universe, I need to know the rules. Okay,
that's what I mean too. And it's like I give the 38th Marvel movie a bigger pass than the second DCU film. Because it's like the 38th Marvel movie, but then again, I'm looking at the poster for the 35th Marvel movie, Captain America Brave New World, and the President of the United States is calling somebody on a Microsoft Surface Duo. And I'm like, full body hologram, perfect projection communication exists all throughout this universe. And it's like, that to me, what you just said, like in a Marvel movie, that is small, but it matters to make the world feel like it's the MCU.
Yeah.
And it's like when you have all these weird, like, oh, okay, so Green Sun. So I'm logging that. So 5 movies from now, if Superman sees a green sun, you know, like then I'll know, like, oh, that's, you know, that's that. Or like Lex Luthor could be like, make Anthony Carrigan's character, you know, you made the yellow sun, make a green sun. And and now you have renewable kryptonite.
Oh, yeah,
you know,
that's a good idea. Yeah.
And it's like, so that's like interesting things. It's like, to me, almost feel like a logical inconsistency, but now it's in this world. So it's like, you better keep it in the world because I don't know. But yeah, again, too, it's like, that's where it's like the logical inconsistencies to me of like some of the things that they're establishing for the universe hit me hard. But then also it's like, just the script for this movie is like, whether it's kind of plain Jane characters or stuff like that, that's like you said, just bring him back to Ruthie's house and set the finale at Ruthie's burnt down house, and you'd have a better chance of killing Supergirl. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. And then in that scene on that planet when she's beating up the guy at the bar, like, should he not have just like pummeled her to death if she had no powers? She's like, oh, I'm bleeding. And it's like, yeah, he just punched you into a building and you're just like, fine. And you're like, the voiceover just got done being like, I love this planet because I have no powers of any kind.
Yeah, and I can get drunk here.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, well then how are you getting in this huge fight with this giant like beast of burden?
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I feel like we could talk about it for a long time.
And then she killed Krem after preaching about how the whole.
And that was just like, there wasn't even like a big moment in that. It was like, it was like, she should have in that moment been like, I never said that I wouldn't do it.
Yeah. Just
and
something.
Instead, she's just like, that's for Crypto and that's for Ruthie's family. And it's like, give us something a little more personal, you know, give us something about, you know, you making this decision, because I was not mad at the decision. I think it fit with who we met this Supergirl as. Like, I wasn't like, oh, she killed someone. I was like, okay, yeah, that sets her apart from Clark. Like, perfect. But then she doesn't like say that. Like, you have to like, again, that just goes to like, I almost just come out of this movie with the same relationship I had to Supergirl as I did after Superman, which is like, I understand that she is Supergirl. And it's like, that's it. And then like the conversation of like, well, why are you Supergirl and not Superwoman? I was hoping that like that would come back too, just because like, and again, I know it is nitpicking, but to me, it's like these are story opportunities that time and time again, this movie just shuts down. And I'm like, well, if you're shutting that down, but not giving us anything to replace it, then that's where I start being like, okay, well, like, what's going on? And that's not to say that like there's not good stuff and that there's not good themes and stuff in this, but it's like when you start having a poor script and mixed messages, like Mandalorian and Grogu had, I think a weaker script than this. But at least Mandalorian and Grogu like had heart and like themes that were very strong with like Grogu's, sequence all by himself and stuff. Like you compare that Grogu sequence to like when Ruthie's alone trying to, be in the cell and stuff, which did have good moments, but it just felt like we were like treading water as opposed to like
until
living
the
in
green
this
sun
girl's,
goes down.
Exactly. Yeah. and instead of living in this girl's like reality.
Last thing I'll say real quick. I think one of the worst things they did was give Supergirl that watch, because when she's got the bag over her head on the ship, I think it says 1 day and it's like 3/4 of it is gone and then we don't see it again.
Yeah.
So I'm like, so we have like another 40 minutes, I want to say, of the movie, but there's like way more time passing by because the sun has to go all the way around while she's in the cave, all this stuff. And by the time she gets to Crypto, I'm like, I leaned over to you. I was like, I think Crypto would have been gone by now.
Also like
the timing was not, it didn't work in the head, specifically because they kept going back to the watch.
Yeah.
So you felt they were trying to get you to feel that time is of the essence. And it just, I don't know. It does not work out when you're watching the movie.
Yeah, and it's hard when it's like you're reading a one-off comic, Woman of Tomorrow, and you're like, oh, they shot Crypto. Like, Crypto could genuinely die. But it's like, that they're not going to kill Crypto in this movie. Yeah. So it's like that automatically kind of takes all the air out of that storyline. Right. And I will say that I think some of her best moments were like her thinking about Crypto, because like that felt like a real relationship. Like that felt like the last thing that she really has. But again, it's like, is it enough?
Yeah, I just like I said to you earlier, I just hope they don't go back to don't use the cheap dog in peril thing over and over again, because again, that just, for me, like, again, it worked in this movie, but I think at a point it probably feels a little emotionally manipulative, where it's like, you're just doing this so I feel this type of way, not because you're trying to tell me like a genuine story or anything like
that. All right. Well, that is our thoughts. Our quick 45-minute review there of Supergirl. Just Supergirl. I almost said Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. Of Supergirl, directed by Craig Gillespie, written by Anna Niguara. The second film out from James Gunn and Peter Safran's brand new DC universe. Let us know, what did you think down below in the comments? Did you guys see it? Are you going to check it out? And throw down there too, what format either did you see it in, or are you going to see it in? Just 2D, 3D, 4DX, IMAX? What did you guys see this movie in, and what are you planning to see it in? Let us know that and more down below. Were we crazy? Was I being too harsh on the movie? Let us know that, but that will do it for me. I've been one of your hosts, Sean Monk.
I've been another host, TJ Cornwell. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what you thought about the movie in the comments below. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, and we will see you next time.